Macron erupts after get wind of his personal EU's army plan is off the table at next Council summit. EU leaders will not be discussing new fundings for defence policies at the next EU Council summit later this month, in a blow to Emmanuel Macron's strategic autonomy dreams. Leaders of the European Union will meet on December 16 and 17 in Brussels for the last EU Council summit of the year. They are expected to be discussing mandatory vaccinations, the role of HERA, sanctions on Russia over its alliance with Belarus, climate change and migration. But missing from the agenda will be Emmanuel Macron's beloved plans for an EU army and the already announced strategic compass plans to put more funding into a common defence policy. Speaking to Politico, Italy's permanent representative to the EU Pietro Benassi revealed the bitter blow to the French president. Asked if strategic autonomy will be on EU leaders' mind in 2 weeks' time, he said, "Not in this very moment. The compass includes a general commitment to increase and leverage defence investments at EU level, but we have to do every possible fine-tuning to our strategy, from here until the European Council of March 2022. And along this path, we will examine also the possible financial commitments and consequences of that, but it is not up to the next European Council to discuss how are we going to finance something that we are still to define." EU defence ministers discussed plans for the so-called strategic compass last month, a new draft plan for the bloc's security and defence policy. The ministers discussed a timeline for the launch including everything from military capabilities to space and cyber, the troops' regular exercise and an annual report. The plan is believed to aim at the ramping up to the EU rapid deployment capacity consisting of flexible and interoperable modules, that will allow us to swiftly deploy up to 5,000 troops for different types of crises, by 2025. This will add to the already existing battle group units of 1,500 soldiers which have, however, never been deployed by the bloc. The draft paper, prepared by the European External Action Service and dated November 9, also touched on the US's prioritization of Asia over the EU. It read, "The United States remains a global power who has contributed to peace, stability and democracy on our continent in the last century and the EU's staunchest international partner. But its shift towards Asia is undeniable. A rising bipolarity between the United States and China is structuring the international competition in virtually all areas. This came despite US President Joe Biden saying he recognizes the importance of a stronger and more capable European defense that contributes positively to global and transatlantic security and is complementary to NATO." Earlier this month, the US leader made the comments after his meeting with President Macron, the biggest supporter in the bloc of the creation of an EU army. The French President and EU Commissioner Josep Borrell have been pushing for the bloc to build its own EU army in a bid to rely less on American and other non-EU NATO allies. But German Defense Minister Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer shut down their hopes ahead of a NATO summit in Brussels. In October, the German politician said that the chaotic US-led withdrawal from Afghanistan showed that Europe must cooperate more with America rather than move further away from it. She said, "There is a lot of talk about European autonomy, or sovereignty, or, as I prefer to call it, more ability to act from the European Union in security and defense. People are asking why we were not in a position to hold the Kabul airport ourselves." She said, "There is a lot of talk about European autonomy, or sovereignty, or, as I prefer to call it, more ability to act from the European Union in security and defense. People are asking why we were not in a position to hold the Kabul airport ourselves. We have to say quite openly, without the capabilities of the Americans, we, as Europeans, would not have been able to do that." She added that with the idea of strategic autonomy propagated by the French president, we are detaching ourselves from America, then I think that is the wrong way to go. The French leader also renewed his ambition for an EU army when the UK, Australia and the US signed a new partnership to counteract threats in the Indo-Pacific, leaving France short of a lucrative submarines deal with Australia. But Ms. Kramp-Karrenbauer said, "I can understand the annoyance of France. However, it is to be noted that it was first of all a bilateral question of armament between two states. She urged the French leader to get over the problematic decision made by the AUKUS nations, adding, "It's good that there has now been a debate, including between France and the United States. Because in view of the challenges that China poses for us, I believe it needs the full force of the West. What we cannot afford right now is to be divided on this issue."